Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am here with another weekly wrap-up. These are all the books that I read from the 4th through the 10th of August. I read 7 books this week, so pretty good. One of them was taking me a while to get through, but let's go ahead and dive into my weekly reads. Okay guys, so we're going to quickly get into this because I don't want this to be too long of a video. I had a few videos to film today. My voice is already hurting. So I got my wine and let's go ahead and dive into the books that I read this week. So the first book that I read was Lord of Temptation by Lorraine Heath. This is the second book in the Lost Lords of Pembroke. And this is between Lord Tristan and Anne. Lord Tristan was the brother from of the hero from the first book. And he was the one that basically went out to sea. Like, the brothers got all split up because in the beginning of like that first book, you find out about their father dying and their uncle kind of locking them up in a tower, and he was planning to kill them so he could have the title and own Pembroke and all that kind of stuff. And they end up escaping, and they all split up and go on different paths until they're of age so that they can come back and get what's theirs. So in this one, he actually went out and he started off really lowly and, you know, on ships and stuff, and he ends up becoming a captain of his own ship. So he's also actually known as Crimson Jack as like his captain, you know, name. And Anne actually goes to him, approaches him because she wants to hire him to get her to, I can't remember where it was, but her fiance had died, like kind of around the war, after the war, I can't remember, but he was off in the war, and she has been grieving for him, and her family wants her to come back out in society and find a husband. And so she really wants to say goodbye and get closure, but she needs to do it quickly, and her parents, you know, her father would not allow her, so she's kind of doing it sneakily. And so she needs to hire somebody that's willing to do that where nobody would find out. And so she hires him to do it, but he also wants payment with a kiss because he's immediately intrigued by her and interested in her. And so she gets to stay in his room with him on the ship and everything, and it's like this forced proximity kind of building attraction that's going on the ship. And, you know, they have a connection, they do have a kiss and everything, but he is like very into her, intrigued by her. So they end up running to each other at a ball once she comes back, and, you know, she's shocked at who he really is because she had no idea. And she's very drawn to him, but she's also trying to talk to this other really good guy because she needs to find a husband. But they can't stay away from each other, and they kind of have multiple rendezvous. Like, he'll sneak into her room at night. But the thing is, the struggle in this for them is that he does not really want to get married. He loves the sea. He gets very like cagey, and, you know, he needs to be out on the ocean. And so she's like, I can't compete with that, and I can't just be waiting for you. Like, I lost my first love, and I can't just be waiting for you all the time to come home. Like, I don't want to be like, I don't want that kind of marriage. And so they can't really be together. And so I liked this. I thought it was cute. It kind of dragged in spots for me. And I also didn't really like how much the hero was like, again, not as into her as he should be. Like, the first one kind of had that where, you know, like, he was just like, oh yeah, we can't be together, I'm just gonna go off into the ocean and blah blah blah. I mean, they do come together and resolve everything at the end, but I don't know, I want the hero to be like all in and like wooing her and going after her. So I don't know, maybe that's not what this series is with Lorraine Heath, but I still enjoyed it. She's still an amazing writer. So I ended up giving it 4 stars and 3 chilies. Then this is the one that took me a while, and I just couldn't get into it. I really struggled with it. and that is Frisco by Tijan. I actually signed up for the arc. I didn't get this, and I'm really glad I didn't get it because I usually try to, rate nicer for my arcs, and I don't know. This book didn't work for me. I was excited by it because it was an MC romance, and I don't think she's ever wrote an MC romance before, and so I was very interested. What the setup of this is Shane, also Ghost. He's known as Ghost for his MC. He's the national VP, which I didn't realize they were like national VP and presidents. I always just think of like the smaller MCs, like that charter. So anyways, he's the national VP, and he went to school with Callie, and she had a crush on him. He was her brother's like best friend. Nothing happened because, he was kind of warned off since it was his friend's little sister. But she like left town. She kind of doesn't have a relationship with her mother and sister, and she ended up getting married, and he was a total douchebag, and she found him having like not even like a threesome. I think it was like a foursome. And so she left him, and then she found out like basically he'd been cheating on her the whole time. And so she's pretty jaded. She went to school. She should be a nurse, but now she's working in her hometown at like a grocery store. So I didn't really get that. She talks crap about her mom and sister where she's been at home and she hasn't even seen them. Her mom owns like a kind of like a bar or restaurant type of thing. And all of a sudden, Shane comes back into town with his MC, and they are there to kind of help out her family because her brother is incarcerated, and he's doing a big favor for them. So that's all he wants is them to go out and look out for his mom and sisters. And so she ends up seeing her mom and sister and stuff. They don't really have a relationship. She just tells Ghost, she's like, I just want you to leave and don't bother my brother. Like, that's my favor. I don't want you to do that. And so they end up leaving, but her sister got involved with one of the guys in the club. And so her sister followed them out to California, to Frisco. It's like this small little town. And her mom goes to, what's her name? Oh, Kaylee goes to Kaylee and asked her to go get her sister, so now she's going to follow her sister across country to go get her. And her sister's this wild child that's not going to listen to her anyways. So the whole plot seemed very like unbelievable and thread. It just was, it was just all over the place because she didn't even like her sister. She didn't like her mom, but she's going to pick up everything, quit her job, take her best friends on a road trip, go chase her sister down. It didn't make a lot of sense. So she ends up going to do that, and then she gets involved with Shane and the club, and he decides he wants her. He doesn't care. He's going to have her, but her life is going to be in danger because of stuff going on with the club. So a lot of that, like, there's a lot of suspense stuff. So the first half of this book really dragged for me. I didn't really like the heroine that much. The story didn't make sense. The pacing was really off. It was just kind of all over the place. And the last half got better with like the MC plot line and stuff going on like that. I enjoyed that part of it. I just couldn't really fully invest in this couple. And it took me a few days to get through the book. I don't know. It didn't really work for me. And then also I had an issue with how they were written. They were in their 30s and they were written like young adult. So they came off very immature, like high school students. So I don't know. It just didn't work for me. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars and 3 chilies. Okay, so then I got an ALC that I was really excited to get, and that was for Twisted Truths by P. Rayne. This is actually the fourth and final book in the Midnight Manor series. So this is my first book by this author. So I came in on the last book, but I don't think it detracted from it in any way. I think you could read it as a standalone. Obviously, it would be better if you read the previous books, and I am interested in reading them now because I really liked this. I think these are all kind of like maybe Disney or fairy tale retellings or twists on them. I'm not sure, but this one was a twist on Little Mermaid, and I really loved that. I haven't read one that was Little Mermaid, so I thought this was really cool. This was Obsidian's romance, and we open up the book. He's in a pretty dark place. He kind of like ran away from his brothers. They're all billionaires. They like live in the same place. They have like I think it's the Midnight Manor. Yeah. And so he's out, I think it was in California, and he's like surfing, but he doesn't really know what he's doing. And he ends up almost drowning. I almost called her Ariel. Ariana saves him and gives him CPR, but she like flees immediately because she doesn't want attention on her. She comes from a family of con artists. She's basically told her father, and he's not really her brother, but like her brother, that she's out. She doesn't want anything to do with this bit, like their cons or anything like that. But she knows she can't like get attention on her because it come onto her family. But they pretty much know it was her because there was like a story about it because he's a billionaire, and they're like, you need to go after this billionaire. We can use him to get money. She says no, but then she finds out that her father has got involved with a really shady woman, maybe our Ursula. And now he owes a lot of money, and her brother was got the shit beat out of him because of it. So she tries to make a deal with her, and it's not happening. So she decides to get a job with this billionaire. He doesn't know it's really her that saved him, but she gets a job as like his live-in kind of like assistant, mostly from his brothers wanting to keep an eye on him because he has had a darker past, and, they want to keep an eye on him. They're worried about him. And so he doesn't really want her there, but he's very attracted to her. And so it's kind of like a boss employee. She's a live-in. She's like trying to steal some of their stuff to like give to her brother to get money and all of that. So I really enjoyed this. I listened to this book so fast. It was really well done. It was narrated by Sebastian York and Kit Swan. Sebastian York is a hit for me this week. I love Sebastian York. He's one of my favorite narrators. I think he does such a phenomenal job. So I loved this. I gave this 5 stars and 4 chilies. Oh, and he is into somnophilia, and I love the way that was like talked about, and he really didn't want to force his kink on her, and she was very open to it and like wanted to explore his fantasy with him. And it does have some like sex club stuff going on, and so it was very spicy, and I really loved the somnophilia in this. Okay, so then I read another arc, and I read Tempting by Bella Matthews. And this is the first book in the Red Lips and White Lies. This is a continuation of like her other previous series of like the second generation of this big family. This is kind of Bella Matthews had like, I didn't read the parents' romances yet, so it's very confusing when you have all these side characters you're supposed to know, but I don't know who they are. But I got used to it in the last series I read of hers. So I was really interested in this one because we met Kenzie, in multiple of those other books, and I really wanted her story. So this is Kenzie's romance, and she is a doctor. Most of the other books, she was away from everybody because she is very dedicated. She was going to medical school. Now she is an OBGYN doctor. She's come back home, and she's working at the hospital and all of that. She has this creepy doctor that's making moves on her and not getting the hints and kind of being really creepy and like slimy, and she just doesn't know how to deal with it. And one night, like, she ends up running into Nyx, like, with this doctor, and Nyx kind of sees, and he can see this guy is, like, super shady. Nyx is part of this big, huge group of family friends. He plays in the hockey team, and he's, like, was her friend. He's kind of crushed on her since they were kids, and so he sees this, and he kind of jumps in and pretends to be her boyfriend. And so we have a fake dating situation going on, but also we have like a teach me thing because she's not a virgin. She's like had sex, but it wasn't great. And so she hasn't really done a lot of it. She's been mostly focused on medical school and schooling and stuff. So they end up in this sexual, like, teach me kind of relationship. And, obviously they're going to catch feelings. They're kind of hiding things from her family. Which that's come in a couple of the recent books, like the whole hiding it from the family is getting kind of old, but I didn't hate it in this one. The reason that I gave this book 5 stars was Nyx was amazing, and he was like the king of praise. And if you know me, if you see my channel, I fucking love praise. I love praise, and he praised the ever-loving shit out of her, and she loved it. She, like, needed it, you know? And so I loved it. Like, I loved their dynamic. I loved how sweet he was to her, supportive. It was just very cute. Bella Matthews does this really great job of giving you, like, that sweet, low angst kind of romance. That's really nice filler in between, like, dark romances that I read. So I had a great time with this one. I gave it 5 stars and 3 chilies. Okay, so then I read another arc, and I read The Prey by J.L. Beck, and I really love this one. This is the 3rd book in the Oakmount Elite series. I read The Wallflower and the Wildflower. I liked them. They were like 4-star reads. They were okay. They're the bully college romance. It was a lot of primal play, you know, a lot of that kinky stuff, but I wasn't like totally in love with it. But I loved this one so much more. This is Sebastian's romance, and we met Sebastian in the previous books. I really liked him in The Wildflower because you find out that he's that heroine's brother. Like, they didn't know they were brother and sister, and he very much steps up. He's very protective and wants to do anything for her because she's like his last family. He's like the head of, I think it's the Arturo family. So there's a lot of kind of like almost mafia, secret society feeling type of stuff going on. And so he's got a lot on his shoulders. The prologue kicks off right off the bat with some crazy stuff going on and how he meets the heroine Elise. And she ends up becoming the maid. And she's kind of the maid, forced maid, because her dad owes him money. So there's a lot of mystery around how this happened. Basically, she lives in there. She's the maid. She also goes to the school, and she's good friends with his sister. So he has a very, like, bully, mean, kind of, like, acts very hateful towards her type of attitude, but it's because he's obsessed with this woman. I mean, this is boy obsessed at its finest. He's obsessed with her, but he has a lot of dark, you know, demons and stuff that he's dealing with, and he's trying to protect her. So, from himself, mostly. But somebody comes from her past that's very dangerous, and now he needs to step up and protect her even more, and he becomes super possessive, and he just can't stay away from her. I mean, it was a slow burn, like waiting for them to finally get together, but once it happens, it is so freaking hot. Like, I love Sebastian, and again, this boy brought the freaking praise. So I was here for it. I freaking loved it because I think the previous hero kind of did some degradation things. I fucking hate degradation. I don't want you to call me I'm your little whore or whatever. I don't like it. So Sebastian really praised her, and this girl has been through a lot of trauma. In the beginning of this book, the way she got in his life was she was shot. She thinks her dad shot her. Her dad was abusive to her. Her dad was like going to give her to this other guy that's like the dangerous guy coming into the picture that's stalking her and obsessed with her. So she really needs that love and attention and actually feel loved by somebody. So I really love their dynamic and how hard Sebastian fought it, but he finally succumbs and is just so hot. It does leave off on a big cliffhanger, but I think the new book, the second part of the duet, comes out in October, so we won't have to wait too long for it, but I am so excited. I hope it comes out in October because this one got delayed a month, but I love this one so much more. There is some trigger warnings because his like aunt, it's kind of confusing. It was like an aunt, but also like a stepmom to him, like was sexually involved with him when he was at a young age, and like still tries to get with him. And so there's previous SA, there is child abuse, bullying, but the kinks, there's some primal play and a lot of knife play because Sebastian likes to mark her and cut her, and he plays with a knife. There's some knife fucking. It's just some crazy stuff going on. So I loved it. I gave it 5 stars and 4 chilies. Then quickly, I'm not going to go over this too much, but I read Pucked Over by Helena Hunting. This is the 3rd book in the Pucked series. I ended up getting a couple of these on deal, like on Audible when they had a sale. And so I listened to this on an audiobook, and it still really dragged for me. Like, it took me a while to like even want to listen to it. I don't know. I didn't really like the second book that much. I liked the first one, but I don't know. I just haven't been connecting to these. But this is between Randy and Lily, and it's like Lily was the friend from the heroine from the second book, and she breaks up with like her long-term boyfriend and ends up kind of like kind of hooking up, not all the way, with Randy. He's like one of the other hockey players. And so they end up kind of running into each other again, and they kind of start this casual relationship where it's like fuck buddies. And you know, they're barely together in this book because she lives in Canada and he's on the hockey team, constantly traveling. And so it's just basically like a sex relationship, and they're fighting that it's more like the entire time. And it's just like, I mean, come on. And then eventually they do get together, but the whole like mix up at the end was just so stupid. And then I was getting kind of tired of how much they talk about dicks. Like, it's dick, obsessed with dick, Frankenstein dick. Oh, Alex is huge dick. And then to hear Violet talk again about her beaver is just like, ugh. So I was just getting over it. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars and 3.5 chilies. Okay. So the last book that I read was Blood of My Monster by Rina Kent. And this is the first book in her monster trilogy. This is Kirill and Sasha's romance. And let me tell you, the last trilogy I was not into at all. Kirill is also part of the Bratva. He was very intriguing in the previous Bratva books by Rina Kent. And I loved this book. I ended up getting on Audible, and I'm so glad I got the audiobook because Sebastian York was chef's kiss again. He's amazing, and I thought he did such a good job on this audiobook. So this one is very interesting because it takes us kind of back in time before those other books, where we get to see how Kirill and Sasha met, because Kirill and Sasha met in the military when I think it was like in Russia, where he was in the military there. She is actually a woman posing as a man, because her whole family was massacred, and so she's hiding her identity and going to the military to kind of protect herself. And so she's seen as very weak because she's a woman. They don't know that, but they think, like, you know, she's weaker. And so she ends up getting help by Kirill in one aspect, and so she goes to him for training and help, and she ends up getting like on his team. He's forced to like go back home to the Bratva because his dad's getting involved and putting like his men in danger to get him to come back home. So she ends up following him home to be his bodyguard. And she's doing that too because she saw his father, and it looked like somebody that may have been responsible for her family's massacre. So she's kind of going to try to get close to his father, but his father ends up dying. So she's just getting close to Kirill. Kirill knew she was a woman the whole time, and he kind of lets that known. And so once that happens, they start to get in a sexual relationship, and it is super spicy. Kirill is very dominant alpha, dirty talker. I love their dynamic. I just love Sasha so much after reading this book, and Kirill is so interesting. It leaves off in a cliffhanger, obviously. I'll be going into more detail on my vlog because, as you know, I'm vlogging my Rina Kent journey. But I was very impressed. So I immediately jumped in and bought the second book on audiobook because it was such a good audiobook. But I ended up giving this one 5 stars and I think 3.5 chilies. Yeah, 3.5 chilies. So I am very interested. I think this might be actually like her best trilogy, at least, that she's had, because I've been kind of disappointed on the other ones. So definitely excited. So those are the books that I read this week. Thank you so much for watching this. As always, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, leave me a comment down below. Hope you guys are going to be joining us for that readathon in September. I just posted a announcement video for it. My team is the ballet dancers. We're doing Why Choose and Shifter. So hope you guys join us. I will try to link that video down below in case you are interested. And I will see you guys on the next one.